That's more or less what Job said in the midst of all his heartache and hurt. I'm still going to praise him, and he surely is worthy of our praise no matter what we're going through. And we can trust him. I sure appreciate the singing this morning. I've enjoyed it. I'm glad I decided to come to church. I really am. And I'm glad you decided to. Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. I've been looking at the thought of let's ask God. I have my opinion. You have yours. The world has theirs. And all that doesn't mean a thing unless our opinion is right, our beliefs are right, how we view things are right. We can be wrong and think we're right, and it will be detrimental, to say the least. I thought about how the Pharisees and the scribes and the Sadducees, by the time Jesus came on the scene, they studied the Old Testament diligently. They studied it from their youth. They had been trained and taught, and they studied on themselves, by themselves or on their own. And they had so twisted and perverted what the Bible said that by the time Jesus came, what they believed and taught and recommended and demanded was nothing like what God had said. So I want to say, let's see what God says. I've looked at Scripture and salvation, Satan, self, and suffering. I'm looking now at what God says about substance. Look in verse 1, and I'll remind you of where I'm coming from. Now, faith is a substance, there's the word, of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That word substance means evidence. It means something that's tangible. It has the idea of support of what we believe and why we believe it. The same word is found in Hebrews 3:15. You don't have to turn. But it talks about that we have confidence. The same word of verse 14. We are made partakers of Christ if we hold the beginning of our confidence. Same word. So this word can be analyzed, I believe, to describe our faith, what we depend on. I was looking and thinking and praying, and I came across the truth about the Huajiang Canyon Bridge in China. For some reason, I got to thinking, wonder what the highest bridge in the world is. Now, you say, how did you come up with that idea studying on faith? I don't have any idea. I don't. But I thought about, I guess the Lord put it in my heart, because I sure didn't like my results. And I'll get to it in just a second. But the Huajiang Canyon Bridge in China was built in 2025. It is 9,450 feet long, about 2 miles, close to it. It is 2,051 feet above the river. It cost $2.1 billion to build it. It has on the very top, it is a suspension bridge like the Golden Gate that has the arches or the supports. And on top one of those, there's a coffee shop and a restaurant. It is built on land that is susceptible to earthquakes. Now, keep these things in mind. During some times, there have been 100-mile-an-hour winds that go through that gorge. They have built this bridge in an impossible place on impossible land, and people go across it every single day. They ascend the glass elevator to the restaurant that has 360 degrees of glass up there in the middle of nowhere with that view. If you want to, you can bungee jump off the top. I'm volunteering. You want to go with me? It is an amazing sight, an amazing display of man's ingenuity. And when they got through with that bridge and opened it to traffic, here's the dilemma. As with every bridge, is anybody going to trust this thing? Is anybody, by the way, it took 3 years to build. They took longer than that building the bridge over at the community college on Old 85. It is an amazing feat. But them opening it will mean nothing, nothing, nothing. Everything will be wasted if people don't trust it. So they put it to the test before ever a civilian went across, drove over. They used 96 very large trucks. The total was 3,360 tons. They took them on that bridge, put them in statistic places, and they went over it and over, back and forth, and she didn't fall. It survived, listen, the test. It survived the trial. Those engineers were not doing that to find out, will she stand? Is it going to fall? They knew it wasn't going to fall. They knew what they had put in that bridge, that it was trustworthy and dependable. Hear me here. People could put their faith in that bridge. And the test of all those trucks did not prove to them that the bridge would stand, but to prove to the world she ain't going to fall. You can trust her. All that being said, this Bible talks about our faith being tested, our faith being put to the trials. And that's what I want to try and deal with to begin with this morning. I am looking at what God says about substance of that which we can depend on and trust in. Our faith will be tested to show us if we are believing like we think we are, to show us how much faith we have or don't have. Also, what we're depending on or who we're depending on. Am I really trusting in self? Am I trusting in someone? Or am I trusting the Savior? The test of our trials, the troubles of our life are sent, one reason, to test who we believe and what we believe and how much we really believe. You also will be tested. You will go through trials to make sure the Lord shows you how much faith you have or do not have. Peter said it like this, Peter 1:7, the trial of your faith being much more precious than of gold. He is talking about gold in a crucible. The boiling of that gold reveals how pure it is and gets off the impurities. And he says, when I send you through trials, when I send problems down your roadway, I am testing you to show you what you really are, to reveal to you how much faith you have. Here's what he says in James 1:7, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Another reason for our testing and trials is to help our faith be increased. He said the trying of your faith worketh patience or endurance. It is helping you to get through what you're going through. The trials you go through is God sending you through the crucible, the fire, to help you trust Him more. To where you can endure, you can keep on going, you can trust Him no matter what. I talked this morning about our faith and how we can trust Him. And the amazing thing about God is He gives us in this chapter an example or two. Butch read this morning. I enjoyed listening as he read it because I've studied it all week. I want to look at what God shows us. I want to look at the examples He showed us to reveal to us what faith is. Look in verse 4 of chapter 11. Notice what it said. By faith. He is saying these people lived and walked by faith. They did what they did because they believed God. You see, faith, real faith, true faith, will cause us to live in a certain way. You got in your car this morning and started it believing and expecting it would start. You believing that caused you to turn the key. You believed that, and it caused you to do something. Here he says, these people lived the way they did what they did because of what they believed. Abel, by faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. The first example that God uses, now he did not just throw in some last moment thoughts. The names he lists, number one, it is true of these people, they were people of faith, but he listed them as he did to show us they depended on me. Now you can depend on me like they depended on me. The first one is Abel, the brother of Cain. You know the story. Somehow, some way, Adam and Eve, mom and dad, told Cain and Abel about what God said about their sin. And they told them that God said we are sinners and there has to be a payment for sin. We cannot ignore our sin. God does not ignore it, pretend it isn't so. It must be dealt with because our God is a holy God and He will deal with our sin by getting us, by punishing us because we deserve it. And they, the parents, told Cain and Abel how to get their sin covered. And they said that God said words, the way you get your sin covered is by a sacrifice of blood. And Abel believed what their parents said that God had said. He believed faith, God, and God meant what He said when He said what He did. If you want forgiveness, if you want me to deal with your sin in a positive way, you will come to me my way or I will judge you. Abel believed that, and his faith moved him to offer the sacrifice that God demanded. That faith is what caused him to do that. He believed. And the same thing's true of us. If you're saved this morning, God did not come to you and say, now, I'll tell you what I'll do. Now, we both know you're a sinner, and we both know you're rotten, and we both know you're going to hell. I'll tell you what I'll do. If you'll quit some of that mess, and you'll straighten up, I may forgive you. Now, if you just stop that, and you'll stop doing bad, and you'll start doing good, I might forgive you. God didn't tell you that. If you heard from God, He said, you come to me repentant, you come to me helpless, you come to me trusting, you come to me believing, and you come to me without anything of yourself. You come hopeless and ask me to save you. You accepted what He said, you asked Him for what He offered, and you received salvation. You know what? That's too simple. But that's the way God does it. And we believe what the world believes, the church world believes, or we believe what God believes, what He says. That's how a person gets saved. It is not God and me. It is God by himself who forgave me and birthed me into his family, and my sin is gone. I do not have to live right. I do not have to keep the rules because my sin is gone. That's what Abel teaches us, that it is not our works, it's God's grace. And that's so important, but getting into the family of God begins with that new birth experience. Then notice in verse 7, I want to just touch on some of these this morning. Verse 7 says, by faith, there's the words again. Noah being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear. Being warned, words, God spoke to him. He heard. Of God, of things not yet seen, something he didn't know, it hadn't happened yet. By faith, he moved, he did. He obeyed what God said. Moved by fear, with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. Noah was the next example that God used to show us what faith is. And he said, by faith, Noah, being warned of judgment to come, believed and acted. He built the ark. Now, when we think about the days of Noah, and there was 8 righteous people, if we are not careful, we'll think, well, the rest of the world wasn't that many anyway. Now, they were important, and they matter, and I wish they hadn't gone to hell, but there wasn't that many anyway. Time was just getting started. But do you understand that the population is speculated or estimated, wisely so, to be as many as 6 billion people? Considering the time from Adam to Noah, and include the fact that people lived a long time and had babies a long time, some estimate as much as 6 billion people populating the earth. The lowest I found was 470 million. So we're talking about a bunch of people. And God told Noah, I'm wiping them all out with a flood. You know what a flood is, right? A flood is water. A flood is too much water. A flood is too much water, too quick for the earth to handle it. And God told Noah, I am going to send. Now it had to be, one thing was rain. Because Noah could look around and he could realize there ain't enough water on this earth to send a flood, not to drown the whole earth. So Noah knew it had to rain, but one thing, it had never rained. Noah didn't know what rain was, but God explained it, and Noah believed it by faith. By faith. So Noah now is working. God told Noah, here's what he really said. Now, if you believe me, you better get to working, because the flood's coming. And if you want to be ready for the flood, you better get to working. I want you to build a boat. I want you to build a boat 450 feet long, 75 feet high, and 45 feet wide. I want you to put 3 decks. I want it to be able to hold over 6,000 different animals. I want you to put it pitch within, pitch without, where it'll be watertight. So I'm telling you, Noah, you better get to working. And he worked because he believed. He worked. He was moved with fear. There's a flood coming, and I don't want me and my family drowned. His faith moved him to do what God had said for him to do. And that's what our faith is for, to move us to do what God says. Yes, even for fear, if we don't, what will happen? Fear, he worked. By the way, he worked 120 years. Man alive, my daddy, he's in there somehow. We are experts at stopping projects. Good ideas, good start, quick finish before it's finished, before it's complete. We lived in that house in Newbern. I was 12 when we moved. My daddy had still not yet finished one room, had still not yet put the porch on, had still not underpinned the thing. We started a garage kind of thing, never did get the walls up as far as anything but the studs. He started a lot of things, but it didn't finish. But Noah worked for 120 years and didn't quit. You know why? Because he believed God. His faith moved him. He got up another day saying, the flood's coming. Ain't come yet, but it's coming. I believe it. And my boat ain't done yet. He worked. He also warned. While he's working, he's preaching. The Bible talks him about being a preacher of righteousness. He warned the people, anybody he could see, anybody around, and boy, you better believe they come. This man's building a big boat, they come to look. I'm talking about they came to look. And he preached to them while he was working, and they laughed and mocked. And to be honest, I understand. He's building a boat in the middle of nowhere, and it never has rained. But he keeps on warning. And he gets up the next day, and he warns, and he preaches, and they keep laughing. They keep rebelling, and he keeps on 120 years. He works, and he warns, and he waits. And that's what faith life is about. Believing what God said, doing what he says, whether we understand it or not, and trusting him. I'm telling you, in our day, we must have the mentality of Noah, that we live right in a rotten world, clean in a rotten world, unaffected by rottenness, the sin, the filth, untouched, live pure. But we work for God by faith, trusting one day we're going to get out of here. One day I'm leaving. Noah worked, warned, waited by faith. It was his faith that caused him to do. By the way, as he's working, he's looking up, ain't a cloud in the sky. But whoa, one of these days he felt a drop. Sooner or later, it came just like God said. You can believe God. I'm talking this morning about substance. What God says about faith, he is giving us examples of people who walked by faith and trusted him and was blessed because of it. He kept believing. Look in verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after recede for an inheritance, obeyed. He believed and he obeyed because he believed. And he went out not knowing whither he went. He went out not knowing, question, sure, doubt, wonder, maybe. Oh, but he went on. He didn't know what was ahead. He didn't know what was ahead. He did not know what was ahead. Do you know what's ahead? You know what you're going to face tomorrow? No, it's all in the unknown to us, but not to God. Abraham, by faith, walked on into the future, trusting God. He was promised words. God said. He was promised a city. Abraham's faith dealt with a city. Look in verse 5. Verse 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, and the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. God had promised words. God said, I am going to give you a city. I am going to give you a land. He told them that, probably 50 years before these verses are talking about here. He told Abraham, I am going to give you a city. And Abraham believed God about the city. And he never lived in it. It says sojourned. He lived as a foreigner. Was he in the land? Yeah. But he never saw the city. He never saw it happen. Does that mean God lied? Oh, no. Because if you read what it says, he was looking for a city that does not have foundations. He wasn't looking for a city out there. He's looking for a city up there. Guess what? He found her. He found her. And that's exactly what we're living in. Because this world is not our home. This is not, you better not be at home here. The Lord doesn't want us at home here. By faith, we must look toward another city, another life, another land. And we are sojourners here. Abraham lived in tents, rich, could have had a palace, but he lived in tents because he was believing God. Faith. And we are sojourners. We are living in tents and tabernacles. This world is not our home. We have a better place to go. Abraham believed God about the city. He also believed God about the child. Look on, I believe it's in verse 17, something like that. It says also about Abraham, about offering Isaac. He, by faith, offered Isaac his son. Not only the city, but the child that he loved. The child. God did not just promise Abraham a city, he promised Abraham a child. And to make of him a nation so vast that the numbers could not even be counted, as the sands of the sea. And Abraham and Sarah waited 25 years, didn't even have one child. Didn't even have one baby. But even though he struggled, don't have time to preach that, he still believed. You see, the reason Abraham and Sarah decided to do the Hagar thing was because, listen to this, it was a culture thing. It was a common thing for that to take place. If the wife did not have children, the handmaid could take up that part and have children for the couple. That was common. That's what the world says. But that ain't what God said. So their stumble in faith is somewhat understandable. Not right, but understandable. But 25 years after, here comes Isaac. Here comes the little baby. Guess what? About 25 years later, God said to Abraham, now I don't know that for sure, but probably 20, 25 years. God said to Abraham, I want you to take that child. You know Isaac? That one I promised? That one you waited on? That one you wondered about? That one I gave you? The one whom thou lovest? I want you to take him and sacrifice him. Offer him for me. Our words would be, kill him. Put him to death. And Abraham did what God said. Words, what God says, believe it. And the Bible tells you, read that in verses 17 on through there. It says that Abraham was moved by faith and offered Isaac, was willing to, because he believed God, if he has to, after I kill that son, he will raise him from the dead. Because he believed God's promise of that son is that offspring. That son is the beginning of the family, the nation God promised me, and God doesn't lie. He believed And he took that son, not a little baby, not a little boy that could not resist, a grown man. He carried the firewood by himself, so he was a strong boy, strong man, up that mountain and laid him out on that altar. And every picture I've ever seen, every movie I've ever seen, has Abraham holding that knife up in the air. I don't believe that's where he was at all when God stopped him. I believe that knife was on Isaac's neck, and Abraham was getting ready to slide her when God said, "Whoa, no, I'm testing your faith. I'm testing your faith." Now, I can handle better. I cannot say I can handle, because that wouldn't be true. But I can handle better the things God sends me through. But when he lets somebody I love go through something, that's harder. Because I want to fix it. I want to change it. I want to make it better. I don't want them hurting. I don't want them struggling. And Abraham was tested by saying, "Do you really love me more than you do your boy? Can you trust me with the most important thing of your life?" And guess what? Abraham found out, I can trust God with the most important, the most dear thing of my life. I can trust God. He's trustworthy. Testing. They tested the bridge not to see if it would fall, but to prove that it wouldn't. God will test you through trials and troubles and heartaches and tears. He is trying to show us who we really believe. Do we really believe? How much are we trusting Him? And He's trying to show us that we can trust Him no matter what. I'm going to stop there. I got 3 or 4 others that I planned on mentioning, but let's stand together. Many of you come, heads bowed and eyes closed. I don't know what test